This is going to be one of my more personal videos. I suppose every video I make on this channel is a personal one because I'm opening up about my thoughts, about my opinions on the state of the world and this or that. But I'm going to be talking more about my own life circumstances and my hopes and dreams. Well, I guess it's either a dream or an ambition, depending on how realistic it is. I suppose there's a very vague and undefinable line between a dream and an ambition. An ambition is something that's more pragmatic and realistic, but a dream is more, well, it's more vague and sort of down to the whims of fate, I guess. Anyway, so, my dream or ambition. What do I plan to get out of life before I'm dead? I've never been any good at predicting the future, to be honest. I can't even see 2, 3, or 5 years ahead in my future because I'm never sure if I'm going to be alive or dead by then. You know, even back in my late teens and early 20s, I had my abilities at prognosticating, my capacity to look years in the future, to predict things like economic trends or political trends, or just what will happen in my life, have been really bad. And I think it's a waste of time most of the time because everyone fails at predicting the future. Although one thing that I'm fairly certain of is I don't think my situation is going to get better. I don't think it's going to get easier. My mum, God bless her, but she's an idiot. And my dad as well. They both, each time I tried explaining this to them, they both said, "Oh, don't be so negative. Just work hard and focus on your studies and just keep your chin up and things will get better." And I haven't got the stomach to look at them and say, "No, you're not fucking listening. My life is shit. I don't have the skill set and the mentality to turn my life around. I'm an adult now, and I'm old enough to understand how things work. I know what my limitations are. They're quite expansive, and it's not really realistic to expect that things will get better." But anyway, it's difficult for me to muster up the conviction to tell them that. I suppose my mum, in her own way, she wants what is best for me, but realistically, I don't think things will get better. I think 10, maybe 15 years ahead in the future, I will most likely still be living with my brothers and my sister. I will still be single and unmarried. I probably won't have committed suicide by then because I know that I haven't really got the resolve, the conviction to end it all, even though, realistically speaking, I don't think my situation will improve. But as long as I don't elect to what's the euphemism I'm going to use for this in case YouTube says it's fast forward to the end. All right, okay, I'm going to call it that. For as long as I don't have the resolve and the temerity to fast forward to the end, I suppose what keeps me going is, well, dreams, ambitions, and hopes. Now, when I was a young child, I had so many dreams, so many hopes and ambitions, because I don't know if I talked about this in my autism series, but I was born with something of a relatively rare gift called perfect pitch. See, in music theory, perfect pitch is a gift that allows you to distinguish keys of musical keys. There's 12 different notes on a chromatic scale, and normally to acquire a skill like perfect pitch or relative pitch, you'd have to work very hard. You'd have to study the sound, the frequency of a certain key, and be able to mentally approximate what key another song is. If you don't have any background in music theory, or if you don't have any knowledge in the field of music, it's like, you know, describing a color to a blind person. But perfect pitch, basically, it gives you a huge advantage. So I've always been, you know, my brain's always been a bit weird. I guess maybe a sort of an unexpected byproduct of my brain being damaged, you know, because of what I mentioned in my 4-part autism series. I guess in an unexpected way, I do have something of a rare gift that most a lot of musical students have come up to me and said, "Wow, that's sick. I wish I could do that." And at the same time, I think to myself, well, you're not getting the full story. I don't think it's a gift, but really, no, it's not guaranteed that having this will make you an ace at music. It's like there's so much more to it than that. Anyway, no, I went off topic there. But as a young child, I thought I'd have a career in music. I thought I'd be a famous musician, a solo artist, a singer in a rock band. And throughout the years, I have composed songs on my computer. I haven't put any of them on Bandcamp or Spotify because a lot of them are quite personal, and I'm just not that good at promoting my own stuff. And I'm not very good at collaborating either. I'm bad at articulating my musical vision to other people. In general, it's just easier for me to work alone. But at the same time, I'm also too much of a perfectionist to get my ideas off the ground. But anyway, getting back onto the topic of hopes and dreams, I thought I would have, my hopes and dreams were that I'd become famous, that I'd make a lot of money and be rich and successful as an artist. Then, as I matured into my teens and my late teens, I think my dreams sort of expanded, where I thought, okay, well, I could try music, but if that doesn't work out, maybe I could go into writing. Or maybe I could try being an artist. My peak idealistic years were probably in my late teens and early 20s. But by that point, reality began to sink in, because I was beginning to come to terms with just how flawed of a character I am. I have too much of an addictive personality, and I'm addicted to loneliness. I'm addicted to being isolated in my own room. I'm addicted to feeling sad when things don't go well, and I'm not very good at coping with changes in my circumstances. I just don't have the ability to take a deep breath and detach from the fluctuations in my mood, because my mood changes quite a lot. It changes mainly from low to extremely low with very little warning. It's very unpredictable. I'm always in a state of chaos, and most of the time this has led to me, I've never been that good at planning as a result. Because if you behave in accordance with the belief that basically the world's going to end, or you're not going to survive for much longer, you'll find that you're not that good at planning ahead for the future, especially if you don't think there is going to be a future. And that's just the way I've always been. In spite of the fact that I went to university, which you might argue is, planning ahead for the future, in spite of the fact that I work a job, I've never been any good at putting savings together, because at some point I get frustrated and I spend that money on things like booze, delicious food, and coffee. it's not to say, however, I would say, I think compared to how I was in my early 20s and my late teens, I'm probably a little better at making plans for the future. However, I still don't have the mentality, I don't have the time preference of somebody who is probably more financially secure, because a lot of it, I believe, is essentially down to attitude. How well you can cope with changes in your circumstances, how good you are at predicting political and economic trends, and how secure you are in your own mental and physical well-being. And in my case, no, I don't have a lot of security in all of those things. And I feel like this has been one of the main reasons why I've just never been that good at making plans or provisions for the future. So my hopes and dreams and aspirations, well, they were relatively, I had quite a few of them in my early 20s, but by my late 20s, a lot of them began to disappear. And now, at some point, I think in my mid or late 20s, I realized I fucking suck at drawing. There's no way I'm going to be an artist. I was in a relationship briefly with a girl who was far more talented at art than I was. And it became clear to me that some people are just born to do art, and I'm not one of them. And even now, there's a part of me that wants to continue to pursue music in the hopes that one day people will listen to my material and I'll nestle up a cult following and become the new, who am I going to become the new Neil Tennant, or the new, Bernard Sumner, because those are people who I take inspiration after. But at the same time, practically, realistically, I'm just not responsible enough to commit myself to the grind, to producing, to articulating my ideas for songs, because I do have them, but even now, they're just still stuck here, and I wonder if they'll ever see the light of day. So that being the case, now that I'm 30 years old, now that I've spent many years working in private, what are they called? Retail and catering jobs, all low, unskilled, low pay, unskilled jobs as baristas and bartenders and this and that. What are my realistic goals for the future? This is assuming that I live to be 50 or 60, which, given what happened to my father, he was 68, it's really, you know, it's all in, it's into question, because you never know what fate can throw at you sometimes. I actually remember coming across a video on YouTube of a man who was in his mid-30s talking about how he'd recently been diagnosed with having a glioblastoma, a brain tumor, and he had basically 8 or 9 months to live. I think to myself, fucking hell, how the hell does that happen? Jesus Christ. And I've been seeing reports of this everywhere on the news. Young people getting diagnosed with all kinds of weird cancers that we never knew existed. Is it the microplastics? Or what causes this onset on cancers? And will it be stopped? Is there anything we can do to prevent this? Well, I feel like we can't fight what we can't see. And in my case, I feel like I'm especially sensitive to stories like this, because how do I know that I don't secretly have a cancer growing in me? And if I'm being objectively and brutally honest about myself, I don't live each day like it's my last. I don't take good care of my health. I don't really exercise that much, because whenever I go to the gym, I feel like there's no point in exercising just for the purpose of staying fit. If you exercise, it's got to be so that you can get stronger and more muscular and set targets. But each time I've attempted that, I failed. I've just become burned out, and I only frequent the gym infrequently. I only visit there once a week or once every 2 weeks, in all honesty. I sometimes do running around. I run around when it's late at night and I can't sleep while listening to my favorite music. But I'm not really. I don't really live a model lifestyle that a fitness coach would recommend. As far as food, I eat whatever I feel like, whenever. I raid the fridge, and I don't live on any kind of diet. It's a miracle that I'm not fat, to be honest. And alcohol, some people think that I have a drinking problem. I don't have a drinking problem. I have a drinking solution. Because my life is so miserable. Like, I'm so unbelievably jaded and bored with my mediocre life. I feel like I can't get through a single night without drinking at least 2 or 3 glasses of wine. Or 2 or 3 pints of Guinness. I've tried abstaining from alcohol in the past, but the psychological benefit from not drinking is nowhere near good enough. It's nowhere near enough to offset the temporary pleasure that comes from drinking alcohol and becoming numb to my situation. If I keep doing this for decades, over time, the compounded damage to my liver and my kidneys, it's gonna take its toll on my health. I'm probably gonna get liver failure. I'm probably gonna get damage to my kidneys. I might even get some form of cancer. If drinking alcohol can cause cancer, maybe it can, who knows? And more recently, a couple of months ago, I took a look in my bathroom mirror, and I noticed I had a little, what appears to be a subcutaneous scar on the bridge of my nose. If you look very carefully, you'll see here what looks like a small spot. It's hard to see because of the quality of this camera, but it's actually, there's basically what looks like a spider vein. I don't know if you've ever seen them. Usually they're more common in old elderly people, like, you know, with varicose veins or stuff like that. Well, I have this on the bridge of my nose. Oh, even going back so far as 4 or 5 months ago, this did not exist. And I don't know how it came to exist in the first place. It could be due to sun exposure, or it could be down to my drinking habits. I'm not sure. I haven't spoken to a dermatologist about it. But I feel just so helpless and hemmed in. Like, I can't be in a position to take care of my life because I can't see a future. So I feel like there's no point. And in the meantime, all I can do until I reach that inevitable fate is just keep on slogging through each day, drinking myself to sleep, trying to distract myself from my misery by scrolling across whatever I find on the YouTube algorithm, maybe watching a movie here and there, hoping that I'll chance upon something that gives me such a neurological, something that changes, that shifts, that causes such a synaptic shift in my brain, something that triggers a whole explosion of neurological pathways in my brain, something that transforms my way of thinking so that it turns my life around. But realistically, I know that in all likelihood, it's never going to happen. Anyway, in spite of all this, though, I do actually have one dream, although one might argue it's not a realistic one, or it's a very flimsy and far-fetched one, and you guys in the comments can decide whether it's realistic or not. So what is my dream? My dream is to accrue enough savings in a savings account to the point where I never need to work ever again. Now, how do I plan to attain this goal? Well, currently I have a stocks and shares ISA with the Freetrade app. I have over £3,000 worth of uninvested cash in there. Now, the thing with Freetrade is they have a policy where if you have up to £3,000 of uninvested cash in your cash ISA, basically you get 5% AER, that's interest, of that money each year, which is £150. However, you receive this monthly, so it gets divided by 12. And what that means is you'll get £12.50 worth of interest just for letting that money sit in your account each month. It's really not, it's not an impressive amount you get. I guess it's better than nothing. But also, it's not just a cash ISA, it's a stocks and shares ISA. So if you put some of that money into the stock market, if you invest in, say, the S&P 500 or the FTSE or the Dow Jones or the NASDAQ, basically I'm really not an expert when it comes to investing, right? But essentially, when you invest, you're not investing in this company or that company. What you're doing is you're investing in the overall stability of the market. And that's why that's why they recommend that you invest in index funds or ETFs. Index funds are basically indices of the top 100 or top 50 high-performing companies in a national economy. And obviously, the names of those companies will change over time. However, most of the time, these things are quite static. There's one thing you can be fairly certain of. You know, anything can happen to an individual company like Bing or Microsoft. You know, there can be a catastrophic upset that means they lose, their stock value plummets. But overall, these index funds, they tend to go up in value over time. So theoretically, I think the S&P 500 doubled in value in the past 5 years. So what I plan to do is I'm probably going to invest quite a bit of money in the American economy, because I think the American economy looks like it's going to be pretty good. Just make whatever savings I can, whatever little savings, and invest in that. And hopefully, by the time I've reached a ripe old age, I'll have at least a 5, if not a 6-figure amount of savings stashed away in there that I can happily live off. Another plan I was thinking I could do is open up a savings account and an ISA, which isn't taxed, and put however much money in that account each year to the point where I can basically live off the compounded interest. That would be the dream. If I were somehow, now this is all hypothetical, right? If I was somehow able to put up to £1 million or £500,000 in a cash-free ISA, I'd earn something like £20,000 or £50,000, 10,000, maybe up to £50,000, depending on the AER rate they have, of interest. I could live off that alone for the duration of the entire year, because that would be the amount of interest I would make in a single year. Based on that, would be more than all the money that I currently earn in this year. That would be, well, that would be the dream, wouldn't it? Money for nothing. But I would be an old man before that dream is feasible. And in all honesty, I don't know if I'm going to live long enough to become that old. My dad didn't live to the age of 70. I don't live an exemplary lifestyle. I don't live a model lifestyle that is conducive to living to a ripe old age. And what if something happens to me? You know, what if I decide that I can't take it anymore and I end it all? I skip fast forward to the end. Or what if I get hit by a truck or a bus? Or what if I'm killed by a terrorist? There's, the future's impossible to predict. And part of me part of me is resigned to the fact that this dream, I certainly think it's more of a dream than an ambition, because I don't know how practical or realistic it is to achieve or accomplish this dream. It's one of the few things that keeps me going, that keeps me living each day. But I may or may not achieve it, but it's all I have. It's all I have currently to look forward to. So anyway, that's the video I wanted to make, talking about my dreams and my hopes for the future, if indeed there is one. Anyway, I'll finish my collection and speak to you guys later.